Welcome to the 12th episode of the Nerdom and Other Nonsense Anime Podcast, your go-to source for episodic reviews of Spring 2017's best currently airing anime. Today we'll be continuing to review our 10 shows in our final week before mid-season cuts. My name is Bcom, and I've seen Nickelback live 7 times. Also with me is Leo.
Yes, I mean our anime tastes are pretty on par, but I'm not sure about a certain co-host music choices.
Look, Nickelback is pretty darn good. I mean, they're not a quarterback.
I have no reply. Just start with, is it me? I'm starting with...
Yes, let's start with you.
Since
we only got like a quarter of an episode this week for the first show.
Alice is Zoroku. This was the easiest synopsis I've ever done because it was a recap episode. So, yeah. But we did find out it was kind of a neat little episode where we got to see the voice actors for Alice and Zoroku, which was kind of neat.
And Kita, who was like the evil guy. He was the guy on the right, the Seiyu on the right.
Yeah. But what we find out in the rest of the season is we'll be having 2 new female characters will be introduced. It kind of seems that it will be Alice trying to help out one of the characters who is having problems controlling her power.
And her name is like Shikishima Hattori. She's got black hair and she's a loli, or she's a little girl. I don't know if she's a loli yet by my own standards. But
no, I don't think they don't look like they're going to turn them into lolis. I mean, they are young girls, but that's just because they're going with the same age as Alice.
She's a little tiny girl, and she apparently has trouble with her dream of Alice. Mm-hmm. And the other girl is named Miho Ayumu, who is her friend who's like good at soccer, is like the only thing they said about her. And then strangely, like Zoroku's voice actor is like, wait, that she's a girl?
I think because the other voice actor was like, oh, I thought it was a boy too when I read the series.
Read the manga, yeah. So she's a tomboyish character, basically, is what they're getting at. So yeah, so that's all we know. And then I mean, I'm kind of worried because like I don't know. I'm just pessimistic about where this series might be going, but we have no idea, so we have to see at least one more week.
Yeah, we definitely need to see one more episode before we make any decision on it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a very simple synopsis. So I guess I would call that like episode 5.5 if you're keeping track. Basically.
Yeah, and like you said, like the first episode was actually a double episode. It was like 40 minutes.
Yes. So it makes sense that they might have planned for this off week in their schedule, since they did a 45-minute first episode. So they've already given us 6 episodes full of content, typically, like so, or like time was worth of content.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But how about moving on to something that is good every single episode, apparently.
It doesn't have recap episodes. Yeah. Little Witch Academia, episode 18. So we open on an esports reference. So the girls are watching on this big screen this event called the Wild Hunt, where these traveling teams are taking out ghosts in different areas of the world, it seems like. And the teams like have a score on the top left of the screen, like any sports like game. And they're labeled C9 and TSM, which to me clearly denotes like Cloud9 and Team Solo Mid from like League of Legends and every other esport, basically. So Ursula's there and she sees like Professor Quaz like watching this going on. She kind of scowls at her because she knows she's up to no good. Akko sees that Constanze's Standbot, which is like her little robot helper, dropped a screw that it was carrying in this big box, and she runs after the bot to give it back. But the bot like stops suddenly, and Akko trips over it and breaks it.
I feel like from this point forward for the next part of the series is just like a straight up call to like Looney Tunes and like the Acme company and like just all these antics that Akko is doing. It has to be.
Yeah, she's super clumsy this episode. It's crazy.
There's a whole montage of her just messing crap up. I love it.
Yeah. So she heads to like Constance and Amanda's dorm room, And Amanda tells Akko that Constance is going to be in the Wild Hunt because Professor Qua gave her special permission to enter. And then Akko is like thinking about this, and she leans on a knob on one of like Constance's bedposts, and it pushes in like a secret button and flips over, and she falls like way down like a shaft into a minecart, which then like shoots off at ludicrous speed and takes her into Constance's secret workshop, like hidden lair.
I almost got
the academy.
A Casper vibe, because you know that part in the movie where there's on the cart and they're going through all like the cool little things.
Yeah, that was kind of like that.
Thought they were going to do that, but then they didn't. Otherwise, it totally would have been Casper.
So when Akko gets in the room, Constance is like standing in front of this big like easel with like a bunch of blueprints behind her, and she's kind of hiding them, but Akko doesn't really notice. She's just there to apologize for breaking the bot, and Constance is upset at seeing her broken robot, and so like when Akko like opens her eyes to finish apologizing, she sees that Constance has like a submachine gun trained on her, and she like motions for Akko to like move over and sit down on this chair, and once she does, she like pushes a big red button on the wall, and the chair like launches up like an ejector seat and sends her like straight back up through Constance's bed into the dorm room again. So that's pretty ridiculous. But Akko is like, I need to figure out a way to help Constance to pay her back. And this is where everything goes wrong, because every attempt Akko makes to try and help Constance ends in Akko like totally fucking it up. So she drops his like a huge box of parts. She breaks the easel that's holding all the blueprints. She spills coffee on Constance's head. She cooks her burnt food. She like hands her this device that's got like sparking like electrified wires. Like it's just like ridiculous. It's a whole insane montage of Akko being clumsy. And then eventually, Constance gets tired of this and just locks Akko in like a cell and writes on the chalkboard, because Constance doesn't talk. So she just writes, Why does
anime
alone.
Do that?
Anime has a lot of characters that are, I don't know.
They either don't talk or they talk so quietly they need a stupid headset and speaker.
Oh God, yeah. Well, that's a whole different thing. But yeah, the characters who don't talk and... Yeah, it's very common. You're right. I don't know. It's interesting. Like, are mad scientist types who like can't communicate but are like brilliant.
Yeah, but I don't see this in any of like American entertainment. I can't think of an instance, but I can think of a couple just from the Japanese entertainment.
I have to think about it. I'm sure there's some, but usually it's not to the point of not talking at all. At least just like quiet people who keep to themselves. But
yep,
yeah. So Akko escapes the cell, though, by transforming herself into her rat form, and she runs into the next room over, and she sees that Constance is building this giant, like, wooden ship for the Wild Hunt. And Akko sees, like, a picture of Constance, like, as a little kid standing next to a boat with, like, both of her parents and stuff. And so when Constance finds her that she's escaped and comes in, she's like, hey, Constance, we're both really alike. Because like we both grew up like as monomaniacal, like obsessed people that have been chasing after one thing their whole lives, basically. And Constance is like, no, I work alone. Basically, she's just like not buying it. And then like a bunch of her new stand bots, which she built to replace the old one, chant for Akko to leave, and so they send her back upstairs again, basically. So at this point, Akko's almost ready to give up, but Constance is like finally hitting a wall with her tinkering. Like she's like working on the ship and stuff is like blowing up and it's not working. So she goes to ask the Academy's chef for his like electric hand mixer, but he refuses because Constance can't talk to him. And so like she can't explain why she needs it. But Akko luckily follows up and explains that Constance just needs it for the Wild Hunt. And he's like a big fan of the Wild Hunt. So he gives it to Akko to give to Constance. So when she gives it to Constance, like she gets a call on Skype from this monk in the mountains who's getting back to her about another thing that she needed. She needed this plant called the Planta Tartarica Baromets, which is basically a plant that grows into like a golden sheep form. It's really weird.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say the design that they show is like, I had to pause and stare at it and go, is that a tree with a yak growing out on one side. Okay.
That was a strange design for a plant. Akko somehow knows what it is because it's like one of the cards, like the shiny chariot cards, apparently, for some reason. So I thought this was going to be related to a word, but it didn't end up being that.
And later on, I totally thought, well, when you get to it, I'll say, but I thought one of the words was going to come into play, but it didn't.
Oh, yeah. So she goes to the mountains, Akko, and takes a plant, and this like angry monk chases after her. So she like transforms into a penguin form so she can slide down the snowy mountains really fast and get away. So Constance, seeing that she got this like ridiculously hard to get plant, finally believes in Akko and gives her like a whole list of materials that she needs her to go get to complete the ship. So they team up and they have like a montage of they're both working really hard. And then at one point after the montage ends, Akko is like showing a design that she made to like a bunch of the standbots. And she's like, yeah, I'm not as good as Constance, but I had an idea myself. And the standbots are like, oh, it's so stupid, it's impossible. But Constance like wakes up from sleeping and she comes down and she looks at it, and Akko's like, yeah, it's just like my cute idea for like the ultimate magical mecha. And then Constance's like eyes light up. She runs to like the blueprint board, and like there's like a fire like flame behind her as she like furiously draws up plans for this robot because it's apparently genius somehow. Or at least the idea is genius.
Yeah, at least gave her like a really good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Professor Qua is doing something no good. She publishes information on the internet about a ghost sighting
while eating her instant ramen. Every time.
Instant ramen. God, she loves that ramen. And it goes viral on the internet. So anyway, the Wild Hunt has now arrived, and they're like appearing out of the sky on like their little wolf mounts and running around and like taking down ghosts. And Susie wonders like why all of these occult worshippers or occult people, like normal human beings, have showed up like for this viral like internet thing that Cross started, since like Susie says the normal humans can't even see the ghost hunt as it happens anyway. So but for some reason Croix wanted real normal humans there, and Ursula's like wondering what she's up to. But anyway, Constance and Akko are finally ready to take their ship out of the docks. So like they like open up the underground doors and like they launch it out, and then it comes up like through this giant like rectangular hole in like a canal in the middle of the city or something, and then it like blasts off into the sky. And so like once they get to the hunting grounds, yeah, it's pretty damn cool. Once they get to the hunting grounds, they start like taking down ghosts like crazy. Like they use cannons and like machine guns on the ship that are shooting like magical energy at all these ghosts, and so they're just like chewing through them. But then Qua intervenes. She sends out like a bunch of her little flying boxes, and they take down several of the ghosts and transform them into these crow-like birds. And then they go and attack the people below, and the normal humans can actually see these things now. And the hunters are taking them down, but every time they take one down, like the birds like recollect into larger birds, and then eventually they form this giant like Titan bird thing that looks like straight out of Evangelion or something. So Akko and Constance are like seeing like they have no choice but to do that thing, as Akko says, and Constance transforms the ship into a magic mecha that Akko thought up. It's very Gundam, and it's called the Magic Suit Grand Chariot, which is MSG.
I almost got more of like a Power Rangers design from it.
It does morph like a Power Rangers, but like the head looks so Mobile Suit Gundam, and like the white, red, and blue like color design too.
Yeah, which isn't a big difference. I mean, that's what Power Rangers is based off of. Isn't it like Japanese Sentai or something like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I mean, they're Japanese design builds anyway, so it makes sense that they're very similar. Yeah,
coming from the same place. So yeah, the bird Titan thing like choke slams their mech into the ground, and they lose all their magical power.
Okay, this is the spot where I thought she was going to use one of her new words of power, because the dial she's looking at almost looked like it had a slot for like the shiny chariot staff to insert into.
Oh,
and that's what I was like, oh, but then that's not what they did, and I thought it it's maybe not a mischance. I mean, they obviously have other plans for when the words come out, but I felt like it would have been a good opportunity to use one.
Yeah, I think so too. But anyway, Ursula urges like all of the hunters that are like floating around up in the sky to help Akko and Constance, and they shoot like magical energy down at them, which recharges the mech up to like 120%. And then they throw their special move, which is like their right hand like transforms into like a giga drill basically, and it unleashes a miracle magical shining tornado punch that blows the bird up in like a gigantic explosion.
That name. Ooh.
Yeah, it was pretty good. So after it's all over, Ursula confronts Qua back at the academy, telling her that like she knows that she caused the panic to gauge the rise in emotional energy for like fuel spirit or something, she says. And Qua again just tells Ursula like, you'll realize soon enough there's nothing you can do to stop me.
That's the second time she said this.
Exactly, yeah. And then so in the final scene, Constance gives Akko a new broom. And the broom, like when Akko sits on it, it transforms and gets really long in the front, and then like a little like sail pops out of it, like a sailboat sail. And then on the back of it, there's two little like helicopter rotors, tiny ones, that help her like float off the ground. And so she like can finally fly on a broom for the first time, except it's super, super slow and it like doesn't go anywhere. But like Akko's really happy and she thanks Constance, and Constance like doesn't know how to react. Her face like struggles for a few seconds and then she finally smiles.
And man, did I see that gif all over my Twitter feed all week long.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the
good.
first time Constance ever smiled in the series, and it was pretty adorable.
I like what they did with this episode. Constance was really just like wall art to me until this episode. Now it's like an actual person. I really like that.
I like that. Though I know what you're about to say. Like, you know who else needs a background episode?
Everybody gets an episode except Susie.
It's so weird. It's so weird. They must be saving her. I mean, we did get a Susie episode. You just didn't like the episode. It's the one where Akko goes into her brain.
Hear my reason why it was not actually a Susie episode. You can just go back to it. But also, just one other thing. Professor Qua, I don't like her name. I wish her name was how I want to pronounce it, which is Croix. I think it's a better name.
So Qua is just the French word for cross. So if you want, you could just call her Professor Cross.
But it's spelled out Croix, and I think Croix is like a good bad
French.
guy
It's
name.
French pronunciation. OIX is French. The French like I don't know how you say this, like linguistics. Basically, the whole thing about French speech is that they just have very lazy mouths and don't want to pronounce any of the letters in the words that they spell. So like they start saying the word and it's like Qua,
and then they give up halfway through.
They give up halfway through. That's how French is.
Okay, I can get behind that. Any final thoughts?
No, it's just another solid episode. I mean, it was obviously like an homage to Mecha and Gundam stuff and lots of other things.
Yep. Okay, let's move on to Mondays with Grimoire of Zero, episode 5, The Sorcerers of Zero. So we start off with Mercenary and Zero standing in front of the town, observing all the bodies that are just everywhere. Like a bunch of them are burned and just like a couple other things, but most of them are burned at the beginning. They also notice that one of the dead has a choker around his neck, just like Albus does. So they are most likely Sorcerers of Zero. Zero, she also notes that this is definitely a witch's doing that killed all these people. As they're walking around, Zero is pointing out all the spells that were used to kill people. There was Flagus that only burns the target and doesn't spread. Lamont that turns wind into blades. And if I pronounce these wrong, sorry.
It's fine.
Yeah. Redast, which can turn boulders into dust. And they did that by like making one of the bell towers on the side of a building like crumble so it fell on somebody. And then there's E-Track that uses earth and wood to make a wall, and what they did was they formed like a cube around somebody, so like they suffocated.
Yeah, that was pretty
mean. Lots of brutal deaths. Yeah,
that was very brutal.
Yeah, I think drowning, which is sort of similar to suffocation. It's supposed to be like one of the worst types of deaths there is, I guess.
Yep.
Most painful or whatever. But anyways, moving on. Just before they get to Albus, you see a rat with red eyes observing them walking by the alley. But then they finally get to Albus, and he explains that there's another group of witches referred to as rogue witches. And he says those are the ones that attacked them. But then suddenly they're attacked by looters who mercenary just, takes dispatches of them very easily. And he's
let me stop you there 1 second. So when they're attacked by the looters, so first of all, at the end of the last episode, Albus met a dog at the outskirts of the city.
Yeah, I didn't add the dog in here, but you felt it important.
Because I thought it was just so dumb. Because the dog can sense that there is a bow and arrow that is gonna hit Albus. So the dog knocks Albus out of the way of the bow and arrow, saving his life. Which I was like, are dogs really capable of that? I don't think so. I can't imagine it. But anyway, you can continue on.
Anyways, yeah, he's got one of the looters, and he's, trying to get some questions out of him. Obviously they came after the other wizards came, but then as he's questioning him, this pouch drops out, and all these collars that these people wear have a little gem. And what these looters have been doing, taking the gems off these people. Well, Albus just flips the fuck out, and he's starting to kill one of them before Zero finally talks him out of it. Mercenary finally gets his chance to keep questioning the looter, and they find out that they witnessed a strange man heading towards the church. So
and this is where I have... I'm going to stop you one more time, but you can finish there, though.
Yeah, but so it seems this one guy might be the one taking out everybody. But what do you want to add?
Okay, so I have dog story part 2. Because at this point, the dog... so at this point, Albus is thank you, dog, for saving my life. And the dog slowly walks away. So this is what happens. Zero gives the dog the acorn necklace that they got from people on the journey to the village a couple episodes ago, or last episode even. And from the scent, the dog can follow it back to that family of children, because Mercenary is oh, it's a perfect guard dog. And so the dog walks away slowly, and then Albus is waving, and the dog's face looks back for a solid 3 seconds with the saddest, weirdest look.
What's that Incredible Hulk song that plays at the outro where he's walking down the street with his thumb out?
God, yeah,
that's
that.
I expected that music to be playing at that point.
It was so over the top. I was laughing so hard. I was just who is this dog? Because first of all, I couldn't remember him from the end of last episode. I had to go back and be did they introduce this dog? And they did.
Yeah. It was at the very end of the.
I was just so confused. So anyway, that all happens, and then the episode continues on.
So anyways, now that Bcom's done with the dog story, they're at the church now, where Albus opens up a secret passage because he knows where it's at, because he's initially from this sect or whatever. They go into the secret passage, and the Grimoire seems to be missing. And that's when we see the rat from earlier run over to Mercenary, startling him. They're still wandering around. There's dead bodies everywhere, but then they find an old man in a storage room who says the strange man could disintegrate people. And what was weird about it, he didn't recognize it as magic. It was just way too powerful. And you actually see him have a flashback scene, and he literally just takes out 2 other mages instantaneously. They just disintegrate. Mm-hmm. He's totally OP.
Yeah.
But, and Albus is trying to heal him, and it's not enough, and he passes away anyways. Dramatic scene, whatever. On their way out, Zero makes an important discovery that even the rogue witches are dead. So this one mystery man, he took out the Grimoire of Zero sect people and the rogue witches at the same time. So he's a totally different party that killed everybody also. And also that he took everybody's magic from them at the same time. Albus comes to the conclusion it must be 13. And then Mercenary is suddenly surprised he knows that name when a giant eye appears over them and swallows him into a hole. Turns out he casts a spell that if his name's ever mentioned inside the church, it will do an instant transportation to where he is. As they're falling through the hole, Mercenary starts having what I assume is this brief flashback. And then Zero suddenly starts talking to him in his head, and it kind of pulls him out of his flashback, and his flashback is just more of him, how he was persecuted and stuff for being a beast person or whatever. Zero says a spell is called a force summoning, and then 13 appears in front of them. That's when he explained about if my name was mentioned in the church, everybody would be summoned regardless, nothing they could do about it. So the reason 0 of 13 is there is then we get a flashback scene of like the king coming to the town that has been like kind of slaughtered when the witches show up, and they say they are not here for a fight. They tell the king to stop with witch hunts or there will be more killings. The king decides to fight fire with fire. That's what he stupidly says. And then that's when 13 steps out of the carriage. So apparently he's been hired by the king because he has promised to help him find the Grimoire of Zero. This is when 13 throws in an attack at them that 0 like easily stops. The two begin to battle. When Mercenary decides they need to do something to stop this before they bring like this whole place down on them. They're like in some like kind of underground dungeon thing. And that's the end of the episode. And I will say then in the previews for the next episode, it shows them sitting at a table talking. So we'll see where this goes.
Oh God. What did you think of 13's character?
Super plain.
Yeah.
He was, they just made him like a very tall. I mean, even for American standards, this is a very tall. He's not necessarily like big in like a fat sense. He's just looks like he's got some very broad shoulders on him or something like that. And he's very monotone.
Like, he had a very monotone voice, and like he was just very kind of boring to me. I was just like, okay, this is your villain for this series, or maybe he's not the final villain. Like maybe he's
because then you see the previews and you're like, okay, he's not. Is he not even the bad guy?
I don't know. And so then the other thing that happened, and this is what happens when you don't tell the audience what the ages of the characters in your show are. So 13 says he competed with 0 10 years ago. How old was 0 10 years ago? Like, because currently she looks like a teenager of some age, like 13 to 16 years old, probably. I don't know. Like, but it's been hinted that she's a witch.
Where like they show Japanese women when they hit like high school age, they look the same menopause. In their 20s, their 30s, their 50s, and then suddenly when they hit 50, they're really old looking.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, but like,
I feel like 0 has to be in her 20s at least.
I guess so.
If this is going to make sense.
If she fought him 10 years ago, she had to at least be like capable as a witch. So at this point, they're claiming that she's like at least like 20s or something.
20s,
unless they fought as children.
Approaching 30s, yeah. And because he looks like he's 35, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, he looks like an adult. Unlike 0.
unless the teenage hormones hit him like a truck or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. And like, yeah, I mean, 0 talks and acts like a woman who's older, except she knows nothing about the world.
Well, she lived in a cave her whole life.
I know, it's just strange. I wish they would just give us a straight up age that she's supposed to be, but I think they're not for very obvious reasons. So
yeah, so that you can be left to your own imagination whether you want her to be underage or not.
But they screwed up with this 10 years thing, because that means she has to be at least 10 years old. There you go. She can't be under 10.
Well, she's got to at least be 11, I guess, right?
Yeah, the guy in Aromaga Sensei is instantly, no longer wants her for the harem now. Too old.
Jesus.
So let's move on to another show. On Wednesdays, we have Sakura Quest. And this week we had episode 6, The Rural Masquerade. So this episode starts out with Kadota, the old grandpa, showing Sane and Maki a special effects film that he made of him in the Chupacabra suit fighting some dude dressed up as like Bigfoot. And
he totally goes Naruto on us.
Yeah, this film is like 20 years old, and they're watching it and it just like cuts like in the middle, and like some of the guys in the office are like, oh yeah, they ran out of funding because it was like a strangely ambitious film for this little town. So the girls are excited because there's an actual film that's coming to be filmed in Manoyama called The Forever Forest, and they just got the scripts in. And somehow Kadota forced his way into being in the movie because he's the director of the tourism board, basically. So he's like practicing his lines and stuff. Maki seems to recognize the name of one of the actresses who's appearing in the film, which will be important later. And Kadata asks Maki to be a stagehand on the film since she has production experience, but she's kind of upset about that. She doesn't really want to do it. So the third assistant director on the film meets with Yoshino and the other girls, and he asks them for like all kinds of help with securing locations and like finding extras for the movie, because the crew for the movie is really small and they have a really tiny budget, so they really just need as much help as they can get from the tourism board of the town. Meanwhile, Kosuke, Maki's brother, who we've met before, stops in at the cafe to see her. Also, the bartender's daughter at the cafe is on her way to taiko practice, and like when she sees Kosuke at the door,
second share of the season to do that.
Oh, what, taiko practice?
Yeah,
drum practice. Yeah,
because Tsuki got Kirei's been doing it almost every episode.
Definitely true.
And also, I'd like to say Maki's pouting is just like, I felt like it was just over dramatic. I don't get why she was so put off by this whole thing.
Yeah, she clearly has like had really bad experiences in the film industry in Tokyo. I mean, so it's about that, but we'll learn more later in the episode.
Yeah, it just didn't sell it for me. So this is what I'm saying.
Yeah, she's telling her brother that she's comfortable in the country. Like, he wants her to come back, and she's still mad about like her dad like not accepting what she wanted to do. Like, she dropped out of college, so. And like Kosuke is like, yeah, I mean, I think dad just wanted you to talk to him before you dropped out, and he's just angry with you because you didn't consult him at all. So you should just go apologize to him. But she refuses, and she tells Kosuke that she actually wanted to go to art school. Typical girl. This reminds me of my cousin. It's like exactly the same person.
You're like, wait, this is based off somebody I know. It's pretty funny.
In the middle of scouting locations, Yoshi finds a tiny frog and shows it to Sanae, and it like immediately jumps up onto her glasses and freaks her out. Typical stuff. This
running gag will never get old for me. I love it every time.
Her voice when she freaks out is so funny every time.
She's also my fave girl, so that's why.
They scout out a few different places, and the assistant is happy about like the easy access to like a bunch of really good locations and just a tiny area. But he hints that like the director has been switching up the plot a lot recently. Then later they stop by Oribe's manju shop, and at first she seems like she's flattered enough to let them actually film there, which surprised me. But then they mention the one thing they shouldn't mention, which is that Kadata
one of the director's guys
can film anywhere. Yeah. So like when she hears his name, she's like, oh no, and she flips out, and she goes into the back room, and Ririko is back there, and she smartly says that, well, they're going to have manju in this film anyway, and if you don't let them use your manju, they might use those horrible chupacabra ones. And so Oribe like runs after the assistant, and then you can see Ririko like clench her fist in victory because she knows that she did a good job.
Ririko's a badass.
Ririko's great, yeah. Quiet, silent, but deadly. Mm-hmm. Yoshino asks the assistant director if he's ever wanted to quit his job since he works so hard. He like has worked himself to the bone, and he admits that he's thought about it multiple times, but none of these film shoots last forever, and when it comes down to it, he just really loves what he's doing.
Yeah, and they keep selling how hard it is by every time they get in the vehicle. You see the other three guys sleeping in the back. Like, they're that exhausted. Like, there's multiple shots of this. Like, they go from one location to the next, and every time the other three guys have, like, passed out in the back seats. So, like, they're just selling, like, how much effort they're putting into it.
Oh, yeah. By the end of this episode, the assistant director has, like, huge bags under his eyes, too, in a later scene. He's, like, exhausted. And Sanae is noticing this stuff because, like, you know, she's had this arc going about how she wanted to be more passionate about her work. She wants to be really good at something, but so she's admiring this. So at this point, though, the girls finally meet the real director, and he's kind of a douchebag. His name is Mr. Sonoda, and he's upset because they're meeting at the location for the house that he wanted to film. And Shiori like tells him, oh yeah, we cleaned up the house and repaired it and put new doors on. And he's like, no, that's not what I wanted. I wanted like a beat up, crappy looking house for like all of like the actual like tradition and everything. And so he's like, how about this house? So he points to another house like right next to that one. And he's like, oh yeah, that one looks like a garbage dump. Let's use that. And so they have to now like see if they can get the rights to not only use this house, but then also burn it down at the end of the shoot, because he changed the end of the script, so they have to burn down the house now. And Shiori's like against this. She warns them that not to use the house because apparently she thinks it has ghosts.
Well, it's clear that she has some type of attachment towards it.
It seems like it, yeah.
Yeah.
And she says she'll handle contacting the owner. So Maki meets up with Yoshino at the end of the night and walks home with her. And Yoshi tells her that she envies the assistant director because of his love and his passion and everything. And Maki like says, well, loving it is what makes it so hard or something, kind of vaguely hinting that loving acting like broke her heart, basically. And then, so there's a scene then where Shiori visits the owner of the ghost house, who basically tells her, like, it would be great if they burned the house down because they only inherited this house from, like, a family name and they were never planning to use it. And so if they could get it torn down, like, as part of this movie, it would be great for them. So back at the tourism office, Yoshino is requesting, like, extras over the phone. It's, like, all working out. And Kadata is practicing his lines and stuff. And then we find out that Kadata stole his line from one of the other office workers who was supposed to get it, but he took it. So he's doing everything he can to get into this movie.
Yeah, typical Kadata.
Yeah, and then Shiori arrives and lies to everybody, telling them that she couldn't find the owner of the house and she couldn't get the rights to use the house. So yeah, she's now protecting this house, so she definitely has some ties to it. But yeah, they say like, hey, there's plenty of empty houses because it costs a ton of money to demolish a house. And then even if you do demolish the house, you pay higher taxes on the empty lot than you would have otherwise. So that's why there's all these abandoned houses out there in the rural country. So the director sees these kids the next day practicing taiko drumming in town and spontaneously tells his assistants to add a new scene with taiko drumming because he keeps changing the script.
Didn't we already talk about that?
No. This
taiko
is
drumming.
It's like recurring. It's like this is a different scene. Yeah. This is where the taiko drumming is coming together.
Oh, that's right.
So it turns
for a minute,
out,
I was like, did we talk about this in a different show already?
Oh, no.
That was an earlier scene. My bad.
Yeah. So it turns out it's like a zombie film, and Kadata is like dressed up in zombie makeup, and he's getting upset because he doesn't have any lines.
Well, no, he's got
his
zombie
only
noise.
line is like groaning and banging on the windows of like the manju shop where they're filming, and Orube is like laughing at him because he's like a zombie. But so he's pissed. So like when the main actor like comes out, they're filming the scene, and the main actor's like, I need to go. He's like telling the girl he needs to go, and like when he walks out of the shop, Kadata just freaking tackles him.
Dude, I lolled so hard at this scene. I had to pause it and like compose myself to keep watching because I was like, that was great. And then like the
that's
director,
not very zombie-esque.
No, and then the director was even like, hey, that old guy's pretty good.
Yeah, so he impressed the douchebag director. The director continues to demand, though, that they use the specific house that he requested for the shoot. So Yoshino's like in between a rock and a hard place with this house stuff. And then the assistant gets off the phone having heard that one of the actresses broke her leg climbing a mountain in high heels. So they need a replacement. So Yoshi is like, okay, I'll go ask Maki to stand in for the role. And then Maki like flips out for some reason and yells at Yoshino saying, I didn't ask for your help, and then like runs away. And so like Sanai is talking to Yoshi and the next day and like tells her like, no, it's not your fault. I'm going to go set her straight. So the lead actress on the movie, her name is Moe Sawano, and she's very Moe. And she is bumped into Maki, and apparently she recognizes her from when like they acted together. They were in the same theater company in Tokyo. And Maki tells her that she quit the theater company and isn't even sure if she's going to continue acting. But Moe tells her to stick with it because she loves her acting and she like loves her and thinks she's like giving up too soon. And so Sanae is like overhearing all this. And Maki, as she goes up to Maki after Moe leaves, and Maki tells her that she remembers appearing on a variety show called Bug Eating Babes with Moe back in the day.
Oh, I'd like to note that Moe still, in Japanese terms, still respects Maki a lot by calling her senpai.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, if she hadn't, she would have referred to her by name or something like that. But yeah, that just shows that she still definitely respects her because she called her that.
Yeah, Moe was her co-high at the theater company, I guess. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but she remembers Moe on this like show eating like a cicada when Maki was like too afraid to do it or just wasn't motivated.
And it was
enough.
Definitely deep fried. I just out of legit curiosity, I would try that because it might be good. You never know.
Might be really good protein.
Yeah, get a lot of protein from bugs, and then with the right breading, you can probably make most things taste pretty good.
Pretty much. Maki basically just admits that she wasn't as motivated as Moe was and wasn't willing to do anything that it would take to get her break. And like the eating the cicada thing got talked about a lot, and that's how Moe actually got her break into the industry. And Maki talks about like how she like only stuck with acting because she was praised for it when she was little and people told her to stick with it, but like being told to stick with something, she says, is the same as like any abusive employer would say you should do, is just stick with the same thing forever, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. She's really jaded about all this stuff. And then Sanae tells her that rejecting the world she passionately pursued is disgraceful and walks off and says, like, you need to apologize to Yoshino. And then the episode ends with a random scene of like the blonde artist dude reading a line because apparently he got cast in the movie too.
And he gets a line.
Yeah. I'm just going to say, like, this was a boring episode for the most part. I thought, like, I don't know.
I didn't have a problem with it, but I wasn't writing a synopsis, and I could see how it would have been kind of boring.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be part of it, just like having to pay attention to all the little small parts. But, I mean, I guess it's going to be wrapped up next episode, probably. It's like a little mini arc, but like all this setup, like I just didn't care that much. And I think it came down to like I don't understand Maki so well. Like I don't understand like why she's so upset.
Yeah, that's why I was saying earlier, I just felt like she was being over dramatic about the whole situation. But
yeah, and I kind of agree. Also, I just wish the show had focused more on Ririko.
Oh, really? Yeah, I would take that or Sanae.
Yeah, Sanae is pretty great too. But we already got Sanae's little arc, so I don't think it'll focus on her for a while. Right. But yeah, that was this episode.
So here's looking forward to some Ririko stuff. But let's move on to one of my favorite titles to say every time we do this is Busou Shoujo Machivellianism, also known as Armed Girls Machivellianism. Mm-hmm. Shoo. Episode 6.
Only one of those. I think 2 of those this episode. Only 2 shoes this episode.
Shoes are key. Episode 6. Notes on a Scandal. We have an opening shot of Rin looking at a new mask to replace her half-broken one, but then decides she wants to keep her broken mask because she remembers about Nomura saying, "Oh, I can tell you're actually cute with that mask on," so that's why she keeps her half mask, so half her face is still shown. Then we get a shot of Mary asking Choka how she looks because it's clear both girls want to appear desirable to Nomura in his eyes. They are both super in love with this dude. Nomura is now being seen in a new light by a bunch of the schoolgirls because of his heroics and Robbie and Bix. Like
by a new light, let's explain what that means. Literally every fucking girl in the school is like squealing every time he walks by. Basically now every girl in the school except for like maybe 3 is in his harem.
Yeah. They just, no matter where he goes or what he does, there's just a group of the girls just squealing and going, yeah, whatever they see him.
I felt like that kind of doesn't make sense because in the universe of this show, aren't the girls like supposed to be terrified of guys?
Supposed to be, but apparently they were all very impressed by his performance in the Robbie Olympics.
Yeah.
So, anyways, of course, Mary and Rin get super jealous about all the attention he's getting from other girls. And I loved how Mary does this thing where she puffs up her cheeks to pout. It's super fucking adorable to me. I loved it.
Good pouts.
Yeah, like even in the classroom, all the students are focusing on him and totally like ignoring the teacher. And it doesn't matter what he does, whether it's like buying a soda or coming out of the bathroom. All the girls squeal every time. It's just
I did laugh at the scene where he like buys a soda and when it drops out of the machine, the girls cheer. Dude, it's like, okay, that's pretty funny.
It's almost doing a parody at this point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But turns out Robbie has been watching this whole time and is surprised he has won them over so badly. Like it's even taken her off guard. So we have Mary, Rin, Choka, and No are all sitting at a table having dinner together when they decide that they need to reform Nomura again. At the same time, Nomura is having dinner with Mr. Bighead when he gets a cold chill because they're talking about him, and that's how they... It's either that or he sneezed. That's how they do in Japanese. Yeah. After the dinner, Nomura completely passes out. Almost like he's been drugged. Passes out. Then, of course, we get this shot of his room door opening just before it cuts to him standing outside waiting for Mary and Rin to escort him to school. Earlier, the girls were not happy with him because Rin did not notice... Nomura did not notice Rin's uniform change, and he didn't notice Mary's perfume. But now, he comes out and he tells Rin, he's like, oh, you were actually pretty cute in the other uniform. She's like, you noticed? And then he's like, oh, Mary, I preferred the other perfume that you used last time. And they're like, what? So rather than reforming him, they're like, we'll wait till tomorrow. Because he's easily won them both over. Because if real life was that easy to win a girl over, life would be so much simpler.
Yeah, just beat the shit out of them.
Don't do that. Please don't do that.
That's the lesson of this show.
So the girls are doing the regular search of like going through his bag and like searching his body. They find a photo that surprises the hell of all three of them. It's a picture of a naked Tamaba, which is the green-haired girl, straddling Nomura with him acting like he doesn't want the picture taken. Like he's starting out his hand. He's like, no! And like he's just blown away. He's like, when was this freaking taken? Which explains why he was basically drugged and passed out last night. And then just recurring joke that keeps happening. The girls get super jealous and they start attacking him. As he's running away, he runs into the bear with Robbie riding it. And I'll say the bear actually gets... It was really funny for me at this part.
Oh my god.
Dude, so Nomura ends up hiding behind the bear that is now in love with him because she's been a female this whole time, and because he beat her, now the bear's in love with her.
It stops and like it says on screen in like Japanese lettering, female, to like let us know that the bear is female when it's like blushing. They added the bear to his harem. It's like so ridiculous at this point.
I can't wait to hear Bcom's reaction.
Like I can't even hate the show anymore because it is so clearly like an over-the-top parody of everything now that I'm just like, oh my god, this is so stupid. Like I'm along for the ride now.
Exactly. I said this from the very first episode. I was like, this is a show. You just let your mind unhitch, just go with it, sit down, enjoy the ride, and that's exactly where it's going. But they also
want him to end up with this bear. Like I want
the bear's
that to
married.
Be the OTP.
We also find out the bear's married and one of her little cubs is running around.
True. I forgot about that.
But they also do that thing where like the bear's face this whole time has been like really like rawr, scary looking, and then they make it like a total what would you call it?
Dere face? I don't know. It would be like a little cute bear face. I don't know.
Yeah, they go from like
they cutify it.
Yeah, they go from like actual bear face to like the cute kawaii bear face,
cute big eyes, and like
oh man,
blushing cheeks. Oh, so it's so dumb.
So he ends up hiding behind the bear to escape the other two, and then he starts having a conversation with Robbie where he where I don't know where he comes to the conclusion that because of the lighting in it, it's covering his junk. And he's like, I didn't have a boner, so if I can get the original content, I can prove that I wasn't into this situation. Okay. But turns out it's like near impossible to sneak into the girls' dorm since he was last time there. So he intentionally gets himself captured. But I want to recap a quick scene. Like when he's talking to Robbie, like some of the other girls, like purple hair girl or purple underwear, whoever she was, like come down the hallway and he has to like hide behind the bear again, but the bear's like pressed up against him and like like the bear's being embarrassed because like he's pressed against the bear's boobs. It's this whole crazy.
Yeah, the bear now has breasts and like he's like fondling the bear's chest. So oh my god, the bear's like squirming back and forth and making noises.
Oh yeah, and it also does this thing where like the bear falls over and then Robbie has to like jump on top of the bear to halfway cover the Nomura, and like her butt's like pressed against his face.
Of course.
So yeah, that's the first. I believe that's the first sexualization of her in a little bit.
And that's how you get pink eye, Nomura. Be careful.
Yeah. Oh man. So he's been captured. And Mary and Ren are beating the absolute shit out of him with bamboo poles while he's like tied up and hung upside down. Eventually,
that was a weird scene to me. Like
that was intense.
They were literally like beating the shit out of him, like torturing him, like over a barrel of water hanging upside down. Like that was really over the top. I didn't understand that scene. Like it didn't make sense to me.
Actually, that's a specific type of torture, and they gave the name of it, I think, at the end, but I didn't write it down. But that's an actual torture, is being like hung upside down over a pot of water, being beat with like the bamboo poles.
Oh yeah, they did say what it was. I can't remember it either.
Yeah, I can't remember either, and I forgot to note it. But it's just based off real torture, which just looks freaking brutal. But anyways, his shirt rips at some point, and they see like a large scar, and that causes the girls to stop for the day because then they suddenly feel sorry. Well, Robbie shows up later to let him out and gives him some food and whatnot. And they make their way to Tamaba's room, and they can't find anything when they assume the content is either on her body or one of her lackeys has it. But Robbie knows that Tamaba is in the bath right now, and so that'd be a perfect chance to go and search her clothes and whatnot. Oh, this was where the erotic bear scene. I know, I'm going to read my note exactly as I wrote it. Erotic bear scene and a good excuse for Robbie to press her butt against Nomura's face. Yep. Oh, man. So they're in the changing room. They're searching. They can't find it when Tamaba's right-hand person attacks him. And then Tamaba also comes out of the bath completely naked with a pouch around her neck, presumably holding the USB drive that has this original content on it.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Like she's completely butt-ass naked, and her hair is the thing censoring her boobs. Mm-hmm. So, and that's the end of the episode.
And I hate her voice because like Tamaba's voice is this like airheaded like la 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 voice. It's really annoying.
No, I love it because it's her character. She's supposed to come off as completely freaking psycho.
Yeah, definitely.
But with an airheaded type's voice, which is why I like it. Because like she sounds like she's dumb, but she's actually probably smart, but a complete psycho in the head at the same time.
Yeah, something about like that voice profile like grates against my ears. Like I don't like hearing it for whatever reason. It gets under my skin a little bit. So yeah,
man, if only she was like kiki.
Oh yeah, that would be so much better. That's that voice of my dreams. I
can't even imagine that with her voice. My mind won't even make that connection. Man, but that's the stuff made of nightmares, I think.
Yeah, so I hope Bear Chan ends up being best girl. That's all I care about.
Yeah, so the bear's in his harem now, and yeah, like you said, this show is just almost being a parody and just going all out with just crazy antics.
The show finally gave me something to root for.
Good, you finally turned off your brain. I was like, you can't dissect this show. You're going to get nowhere because it doesn't go anywhere.
It was more like a forced shutdown.
They just pulled the plug on you. You're like, okay.
Yeah. All right, so Thursday's next show is Tsuki ga Kirei. We're up to episode 6, which is Run Melos. I don't know what that title means.
Sleepy time.
Yeah. So we open 4 days before Akane's track meet, and she's being careful to avoid being alone with Chinatsu, it seems like, at the beginning, after getting that text at the end of the last episode where Chinatsu's like, hey, I'm in love with Kotaro. So Kotaro is also still practicing drumming for his festival, like Leo noted before, the taiko drumming. And he quotes Dazai saying that people exist for love and revolution. So there's an opening shot after the credits where we see a sign in the town that says, no littering. The road is a part of your yard. And I kind of just like this philosophy. It was like a throwaway shot, but I like that. Like when I was in Japan, everything was so damn clean everywhere. I wish the US kind of embraced this, like, don't litter in public policy a little bit more, but oh well. So yeah, Chinatsu and Akane and a friend are actually hanging out and eating ice cream bars and like laughing together. So it seems like Chinatsu and Akane are at least not talking about it, but are still kind of friendly. I thought from the first scene that they maybe were just not talking at all, but it seems like they're okay. So Kotaro is at home, and his mom lectures him about studying for an exam. His mom is kind of on his case this entire episode. And while she's doing this, we also see his dad like polishing a rifle in the corner of the room for some reason, which seemed a little out of place to me. But anyway, he gets a call from Katoyama Publishing, Kotaro does, about his submission for the Newcomer Award, and he leaves the room. Meanwhile, at Akane's house, her bitchy sister hints to the parents at the dinner table that Akane might have a boyfriend since she's in the 3rd year now. And this is something that she told Akane she would not tell her parents. So it's kind of a bitchy thing to do. And then so Akane leaves the table because she doesn't want to talk about it. And she gets a text from Kotaro asking her to meet in the library the next morning. Kotaro tells her that the publisher asked to meet with him. And so she congratulates him. But unfortunately, the meeting is on Sunday. It's the same day as the track meet, so he can't come. But Akane is excited for him. They like pinky promised each other to do their best. And Akane holds off on talking about Chinatsu. She was actually going to tell Kotaro about her at that point, but she doesn't want to like distract Kotaro since he's like doing so well. There's a short montage as Kotaro rides the train to meet with the publisher, and Akane is getting like ready for her race. And Kotaro texts back and forth these cute like pinky promise emojis with Akane. And there's like a really nice female vocal track that plays out over this scene as they're going their different ways and like getting ready. I liked it. But yeah, before the race, Chinatsu pulls Akane aside and she says, I want to talk to you about the line message from the other day. And it's kind of bad timing because it's right before a race. But Akane works up the courage and tells her, I'm sorry, but I'm in a relationship with Azumi-kun, Kotaro. And Chinatsu replies, I know, it's obvious since we're friends and all. Thanks for letting me know. And like, it was kind of strange because if she knows, like, why is she bringing it up? And if she knows, why is she going after him? It's kind of not a great thing to do to your friend.
I guess. Yeah. It happens later on, but there's an interesting scene at the very end, which I thought was... Which is the only thing I find interesting about this show. Yeah. Besides the shorts at the end, which is like the best part of this whole show, if you ask me.
Oh, yeah. So Mizuno then gets set to race, but she's looking really distracted by what Chinatsu was saying. The race starts and Hira like yells at Mizuno while she's running to like slow down. I guess her pacing is a little too fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From my experience of running track, if you do start off too hard, then you just totally blow your stamina for the whole thing. And I used to run like 400s for the most part, which is basically one lap around the track.
Yeah.
And if you did start off too hard, then you would find yourself about the 200 meter mark. And then suddenly your energy just drains out because your pace is wrong, which is what I'm suggesting they did. So it's an accurate portrayal of running track.
Okay. So meanwhile, while the race is happening, Kotaro is meeting with his publisher or this new publisher who contacted him. And the publisher like very bluntly just tells Kotaro, you are not cut out for serious literature. You have no talent and you should give up. Like it was really brutal. But he also says, however, I'm searching for young authors to write light novels. So
because he says light novels are more popular than regular novels, right? And it's like a better way to make money.
He says, like, especially if you have a little sister that you want to have sex with, you could be really popular.
No, he doesn't say that. Jesus.
I wish he did, though.
I would have probably turned the show off and told you I'm not watching it the rest of the show.
I would have, like, hard quit on the show right there. So,
I was like, you can review the rest of this yourself. I'm not watching the rest of it. I can't take it anymore.
Yeah. So Kotaro, like, sits through this. He doesn't say anything. He's kind of shocked, basically. And then we find out Mizuno did not move on to the finals in her track meet because her time wasn't good enough. And Hira, like, comes up to her after the race and kind of yells at her. Hira, like, doesn't have any filter. And he's like, your time was worse than last year. And then Mizuno starts crying and, like, she won't respond to him no matter what he says. Kotaro, like, is silently returning on the train, and we see a bag from the publisher that has, like, a bunch of light novels in it, I think, that basically they gave him to read and see if he, like, wants to change his mind or anything. And when he gets home, like, Kotaro's mom just, like, yells at him, telling him, like, I found out about the publisher because, like, your dad overheard the phone call. And,
dude,
like, yeah,
you're supposed to be a supporting mother, even if he wants to have a career in this, and you're just going to let him not doing it. Like, even if he fails and he's still living with you at 30 or 40, you still should be happy as a mother that he tried to pursue his own dreams. I just totally made me hate her so much.
I understand where she's coming from because it's such an important time in his life, like, academically.
And obviously she wants the best for him. That's what she wants to do, but she should be more supportive of his dreams, which are aligned with being a novelist. And he just had an interview with a publisher. Yeah, that's awesome.
I would be, like, super excited about that as a parent.
That means he's doing something right. It's a totally something for her to be, all right, he's pursuing his dreams and he's actually getting somewhere with it. She should be supportive. And it made me hate her so much. So I'm like, you don't understand.
Yeah, for some reason she's, like, very, very jaded against writing as a profession. Like, she doesn't
Didn't they say earlier that, like, his dad pursued something along that lines?
He used to write a little bit or something, maybe. He said, oh yeah, I used to write a little bit when I was younger or something. Like, so his dad supports it, but the mom is just not having it. Just wants him to study for exams and quit being distracted.
I feel like she has to have, like, a personal reason, and that might be because the father maybe had the family go on, like, hard times for a little bit because it failed. Obviously, they recovered now. But if they explain that out, that would make a little more sense, but they haven't yet.
Yeah, I agree with you. Basically, Mizuno is clearly depressed at dinner. We see her eating with her family, and, like, she goes back to her room without really talking to them. And then, like, her parents, like, look at the sister and are like, go get her, like, go help her. So, like, her sister follows her back. And Mizuno, like, is laying on her bed, and she, like, sort of explains that, yeah, actually, it's not about a boy. It's my best friend told me that she likes the same guy. And her sister, who's kind of a bitch, is like, you need to ditch her.
I also like to note that her sister is constantly taking care of her
face.
Her face,
her
skin.
makeup and stuff. Yeah.
That's what, every time she's in the room, she's patting at it and either removing makeup, putting on makeup, or probably applying lotions and stuff like that. But
that's a good observation, because she is a pretty shallow person, it seems like, and that fits with her character, or, like, her vanity. So,
but I'd say it pays off because of one of the shorts. I think the last episode, you meet her boyfriend, and he's a pretty good dude.
Yeah, he is pretty.
So
good
it's working out for her, man.
So, Akane is like, no, I can't ditch Chinatsu. Like, my friends are important to me too. So Kotaro and Akane both just had, like, a really shitty day, and they're, like, staring at their phones in bed, and Kotaro eventually sends her a message saying, like, I miss you, over line, and Akane sends one back saying, me too. So they meet in the library, they tell each other both about what happened, like how they didn't make it, and Akane tells them that she wants to focus even more on track now because she loves it, and she wants to take it more seriously. And Kotaro kind of gets pumped up and says, I want to focus even more seriously on writing. And they both, like, smile, and, like, they make each other feel better. So, in a very surprising turn of events for this anime, Akane meets with Chinatsu and like apologizes for telling her that she was dating Kotaro, and Chinatsu apologizes for falling for him. And Akane tells her that she doesn't know what to do, but she wants to stay friends. And it's like, oh, they actually made up. Like, they actually, like, addressed this like normal people. And then Chinatsu says, can I confess to him?
Because she wants some closure.
She wants proper closure. But what the fuck?
I feel like this is too mature for middle schoolers.
Oh, yeah. No, this one was like, I was like, are you kidding me?
So
like,
it
at
was
the same time, it's also kind of immature because it's like, and a high schooler would probably say like, hey, no, I'm not going to ask my friend if I can confess to her boyfriend.
Yeah.
So I can get my stupid
This is
closure.
something that's like, I would feel like you'd have to be like at least in your 30s. And that's, I don't know, pushing it. And just to be at the point to where like, can I confess just so that I can be rejected and move on?
Yeah.
And it's almost, and that would be at a point where like both of you would know absolutely that she would be rejected.
Oh, yeah.
So that, but
like, I kind
that
of
scene
feel
doesn't
like
happen for
Kotaro,
middle
like,
schoolers. So I was just like, what?
Yeah, I'm saying like I'm pretty confident that Kotaro would reject Chinatsu at this point. But
yeah,
as a middle school girl, I don't know if I would be that confident. You know,
well,
like,
as a middle school boy, I think my opinion of somebody would change immensely if I found out they liked me.
Yeah, that's true too. And but the other thing is like Akane, like I would just be pissed at Chinatsu for like even like asking me to be put in that situation where I have to like worry about whether it's going to happen or not. Like what if Chinatsu has to think about this situation? Like what if Kotaro says yes to her and then dumps Akane and then she loses her friend? Like that's what Chinatsu's not thinking about.
Okay, look, the whole thing's so messed up that like just think about if you and me asked Savage if we could tell his wife that we were in love with her, and yeah, I mean, it's just how messed up that is. Yeah, just
and
to
then
put
we
in
were like,
perspective.
"Oh yeah, Savage, your wife's moving in with me next week. You want to keep doing the podcast?"
Not
like,
even that.
Yeah,
just be
it'll
like,
be fine.
Just asking, like, can I confess my love to your wife? And he'd just be like, what kind of sick joke are you guys fucking with me with this time?
Leo, let's keep Savage's wonderful wife out of this podcast.
We probably should. But as an example, that's just how like just absurd the situation is. Oh, but I have thought up a new title for this show. Would you like to hear it?
Yes, what is it?
It is Awkward and Cringy Middle School Love.
It is pretty accurate title.
That's my new title.
I mean, it's not always awkward and cringy, but it is like 80% of the time awkward and cringy. And then there's like a release when they finally like hold hands or like, you know, talk to each other.
But it's honestly what most school love is. It's all awkwardness. It's so bad.
But there were some more good shorts at the end of this episode after the credits. So the Mew and Inaba shorts are the ones that I continue to like the most. Like the first one is her asking him questions like at different levels. Like level 3 is like, hey, is that girl cute? And he's like, oh, no, not really. And she's like, passed, like level clear.
Oh, they're doing like it's like a dating sim, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. It's like you have to come up with the right answer. The level 5 question is like, guess what I want for my birthday? And he's like, oh, don't you want a bear? Because he saw her looking at a teddy bear in a window like last week, and she's like, no, that's wrong. It's actually the necklace that the bear was wearing that she wants, which is like 10,000 yen or something.
What would that be? Like $100?
$100.
No, yeah, 100. Yeah.
And then there's like a final scene between the two of them, another short where like they're posing for like the perfect selfie, and he's holding the phone, but she's like directing him, and she's like, don't you dare take the picture until I tell you I'm ready. And she's like going through all these different facial expressions and like telling him how to angle the phone, and she's finally like, okay, take the picture. He takes it. She like immediately grips it like out of his hand, and she's like, oh, I can't post this on my feed with me looking like this. Let's start over from the beginning. And I'm like, oh God, this is so true. It was so funny. Yeah, this like you say, the shorts are still some of the best parts of the show by far.
And I think one of the other ones is the thing between the teacher and the other young boy, which is it's wrong, but for whatever reason I really like them. I think it's funny.
It is really funny.
Like the teacher's having this like moral dilemma and she's not dealing with it well.
Oh, yeah. So
all right.
Anyway, want to move on to the next show?
Yep. All right. Let's go on to Friday's Rage of Bahamut Virgin Soul, episode 6. Anatian Holiday? Anatian Holiday? Yeah. I will apologize now if it sounds like I am hating on this show. I really like this show, but it's like, as I sent a message to Bcom earlier, I said, it's like somebody made a wonderful ice cream sundae with fudge and nuts, and then they put mustard on it.
Yeah. I had some of the same issues with this episode. We'll get into it.
So, all right, here we go. Starting off. We have Nina still not forgiving Bacchus from the last episode where he was like peeking on them, but he was trying to figure out if the kid had 2 colored eyes. They're also painting signs for chicken and wings that Rita is making because it's a festival that's coming up and her wings are really famous. But Rita also still needs more ingredients, so she sends Nina off to buy more. And then as she's leaving, we find out that she is still keeping the ring that she got from arm wrestling, who I'm going to call Undercover Cherios, in her pocket. So the next scene goes straight to Undercover Cherios, looking at a grave and remembering his conversation with Kaiser about there has to be a way for all 3 races to live in peace. Quickly, we go back to Nina shopping when she runs into one of the demon slavers from... Was it an episode ago or 2 episodes ago?
So I think it was maybe 2 episodes ago now. I forget.
Yeah, but it's the guy where... darn it, what's his name? The boy with 2 colored eyes.
Muguro used his power.
Yeah, he used his power to take off their collars and they chased him off.
Maybe this was just last episode. I can't remember.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is he has this time brought along young and handsomely dashing men to kick her ass. And it turns out she's apparently into some rough BDSM shit as long as the guy is hot.
Yeah, so I have to talk about this scene because this is where I first
that was my intro for you to start.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, when you're getting the shit beaten out of you by guys on the street, you're not attracted to them. It doesn't make sense.
If I started to get the shit beat out of me by Victoria's Secret models, I would immediately have a complete turnaround in my mind about defending myself and not giving and
I'm thinking about Mad Max now. It's if those girls attacked me in the middle of the desert, would I be attracted to them or would I just fight them?
I'm all about equality. So I'm all about, don't hit a woman, obviously, but if she starts to hit you first, you can defend yourself, right?
Yeah.
It goes both ways. That's all I'm saying.
So the way I tried to explain this to myself in my head was that Nina knows that she's way more powerful than these guys. So maybe she feels comfortable enough with her situation that she doesn't view them as a threat. So in that case, she can kind of just view them as the handsome, dashing men that they are, even though they're fighting her, and she still gets turned on. She's being choked out. Yeah, I know. It's so over the top that I'm just I was grasping for straws to explain this. And I just feel it doesn't make sense.
And in her defense, the show at least has her saying, damn my body. She's saying she can't control herself.
Yeah, it's there's a separation between mind and body as well. It's it's just a physical reaction she almost can't control.
I have a rant later on about this, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
because at this point, I'm just sucking it up, and it overflows. So anyways, Undercover Cherios shows up and saves her. Kicks her butts really quickly. And then just in a very cool fashion, after picking up her groceries, just walks away. But she runs up to him, catches up to him. And he remembers her name, and that basically almost makes her orgasm right in the middle of the street.
Yeah, because
I'm overselling that. They animated it she just wet herself a little bit. Nina ends up inviting him to their food stand so that that they will be running during the festival. So Nina's made it back to the carriage and is like super scatterbrained, love struck, whatever. That she picks up Hamzel and starts plucking his feathers and doing the he'll come, he won't come, he'll come, he won't come, which was kind of funny.
Poor duck.
Yeah, poor Hamzel. So we jump right back to Cheerios. He's back at the castle admiring one of the peppers. So like clearly he's fallen for Nina also. It's glaringly obvious at this point. When like one of his aides comes running up saying, you should let us know when you leave the castle. And like Cheerios is just like says quiet, but the way he says it and like his face is basically him saying, shut your face, you're not the boss of me.
Yeah, definitely.
Another quick scene jump to Azazel. He's giving a speech about how he'll attack the parade and like the next day. And they'll do a pincer attack with the demons attacking the king and his men, and him and the red dragon from the other side. But they rely so heavily on the red dragon being there that one of the demons has a problem with it. And Azazel just responds with, "Who do you think I am?"
Yeah, basically.
So, season 1, wasn't Azazel kind of like a big, very powerful leader type demon, right?
Yeah, definitely. He was one of the more powerful demons in hell. So yeah, like he definitely he can get away with saying that, I think. Yeah.
Was he the one with like, didn't he have like a ship or something? Was that him? It's been a while since I've seen it. I know you just marathoned it.
He did. Yes.
Yeah. That ship that was like kicking ass and stuff like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, the festivities have begun and we find Kaiser and his 2 other comrades being very, they're just walking around, just doing their patrol and whatnot. But Kaiser sees a figure in the crowd who is clearly Azazel. And he leaves the other 2 behind saying, take over for me. He chases after the person, but doesn't find him. We go right back to Nina and the whole gang running their hot wing stall when undercover Cheerio shows up. Of course, Nina is the horniest individual ever and can barely control herself. She's stuttering. She's just saying off random things. But Bacchus offers the wings for free to undercover Cheerios for a condition. They take Nina around the festival and show her a good time. It's just good old Bacchus is trying to make up for peeking while watching them sleep from the last episode or whatever.
Playing matchmaker, yeah.
Yes. Cheerios accepts, and Nina almost orgasms again all over herself. And this is the part where I had to stop writing my synopsis or write my quick rant, and just bear with me. Here I go. I have to stop here and say, as much as I am loving the show and my love for the first season, making Nina a complete nymphomaniac is really killing it for me. I was fine in the beginning, but they're beating a dead horse with this running joke. It's not even that. It's a complete aspect of her character at this point, and basically a plot point for the show. Their portrayal of what a young female is like when she's in love is just starting to be disgusting to me at this point. This is not what the show is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about like battles and gods, demons and stuff like that. I need some females to tweet me and let me know if Nina's reactions are even remotely true and that you young female women are just like that good at hiding it. Then and only then will I forgive the show, because then it would have accurately portrayed a young female's mind works, but that's not what it's doing. It's just so absurd.
Getting to be at this point, it's getting to be over the top, and
yes,
and like you said, it's getting to be like a bit disgusting. Yeah,
and like just the way they animate her, I'm like, I'm pretty sure she just got off, but. Yeah. Moving on back to the synopsis of the show. Of course, it's very awkward for Nina being a young female walking around with a young hot man who's actually the king. And this whole little scene was just so much symbolism for me. So, dude, I died writing this. Cheerios offers her a banana. The show is Bananas, Bananas. I just got to get that out. Real quick.
Oh boy.
And it's comically a tiny banana. I didn't even know you could get tiny bananas. It's a really chibi banana.
Yeah, chibi banana.
It's a chibi. He gives her a chibi banana. It's like I feel like it's representation of his dick, which is apparently a chibi dick. So then just a short scene of them walking around enjoying themselves. And then more symbolism and metaphors with Charios being able to hit all the targets multiple times with his arrows. And then they're also standing, they both have candied apples, and he's biting into his candied apple, and I put Nina's candied apple in parentheses.
Wow.
And she's blushing about him eating the apple.
God,
I'm like, why would she?
I didn't put any of this stuff together, but it actually makes a lot of sense.
Dude, this is dude, I feel like they just went crazy with the metaphors on this little scene here. And I'm just like, wow, this show is super sexually hyped. So there's all that after Charios bites into Nina's candied apple. Rita is explaining about her worries being out with a young boy for the first time, when it's just a funny scene where Hamza says she might come back all grown up, and Bacchus like spits out all his wine. It was just a good joke. Then right back to Nina and undercover Charios watching a dance when he asks her if she would like to give it a try. She doesn't know the dance at all, and undercover Charios takes her by the hand and leads her through the dance. It's actually a really good scene of them like dancing and having a good time.
By far the best scene in the episode. Like, it was really beautiful, fluid animation. And it reminded me of, there's a scene in season 1 when Amara gets really drunk and dances with Favreau for the first time. But it might have been even better than that scene. And like, it was animated like many frames per second drawn, like, so it was like extremely fluid.
Very
if
fluid.
you look at like Nina's hair and Charios's like scarf that's hiding his head, like flying around, like it just looked amazing. It's a really good looking dance. Just
it was one of the best scenes. It was the best scene, honestly, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But anyways, at the end, Nina is surprised she danced so well and was able to be so close to him for so long without, like going out of control or whatnot. She asks for his name, and he's like, I'm Chris. I was like, what?
We're totally calling him Chris from now on.
She says she wants to see him again, and when he replies with, I hope we can see. I hope we can see each other again. She orgasms all over herself and runs off before she loses her cool and transforms. As she's running away, she literally runs into Azazel lurking in an alley. He tells Nina to go to a tower when the parade starts tomorrow, so this is basically the beginning of his attack plan, how it works. Then he dramatically flees away and runs into Kaiser. Kaiser knows he's up to something, but then he disappears all like ninja-like again from him. And then we get an ending scene with Nina writing home saying that this is what true love might be like.
Yeah.
So you actually didn't get the all the metaphors in that whole scene?
No, because I was more thinking along these lines. I was like, this is kind of like a cute date, but also Charios is like a genocidal maniac. So I'm like thinking about this the whole time, like, this is not great.
And you missed all the sexual innuendos.
Yeah, I missed all like the innuendo. I was like laughing about how like she didn't know how to peel a banana as well, but
he's saying he's got a little bit of foreskin. You just got to push it back a little bit.
Yeah, he was teaching her how to peel his banana. Basically.
Yes. Oh my! Dude, now that I say it, it's like so obvious, right?
And like their dance scene could be viewed as like the culmination of all that. Like it's the wild passion of their dance.
Maybe, but in a way better taste.
Oh yeah, that scene was the reason to watch this episode. Is that scene for sure?
Yes, for sure.
Okay. So
was there anything else you wanted to talk about this show?
No, not for that one. Just that, yeah, the Nina horniness stuff needs to get, like, come on. We're getting to a point where it's like getting saturated now. The joke has been told many times.
Well, the thing is, they've wrote it into her character. Like, that's how she transforms into a dragon, which is a very important point.
And I also think this will be the high point of that, because this is like definitely her, like,
or you hope it is.
Yeah, her like crushing on Charios, basically.
They need to write it to where she learns to
control it. Yeah.
And write it out entirely. I mean, she can still be like Gaga eyes over guys, but they need to stop making her transformation.
Maybe she'll only start to have eyes for Charios now. and like not react the same way to everybody else.
The guy who wants to kill her once he finds out she's a demon.
Exactly. Yeah, so we're pretty sure, right? He doesn't know that she's the Red Dragon yet, right?
No, because he's clearly head over heels for her also because of the scene of him back at the castle looking at the pepper and just being like, and they animate him as in not being like, ooh, I know who you are, but like oh, what a lovely girl type of thing.
I mean, he knows that something is up with her because when they arm wrestled, he found out that she had like superhuman strength, probably. But besides that, I don't think he suspects.
Well, we don't know if she may not have been able to use her strength because she was, yeah. So he just may have found her as like a strong girl, but not superhuman strength. We don't know if he has superhuman strength. That's
also true. That's also very vague. So yeah, he may just be falling in love with her like legitimately. Yeah.
I feel like that's how the show's playing it, and then they'll eventually come to a point where he finds out she is the Red Dragon, and she finds out he's King Charios, and then they go from there, which I'm totally fine with. It's great to lead up to that, but
and I think that's going to come to a head next episode probably because if she has to attack him, and then she like looks into his eyes and realizes who he is.
Or that ring comes in, or that ring falls out of her pocket as she's turning into a dragon, and he's something like this is mine. Something, yeah, they could do a bunch of things. But anyways, let's go on to the next show.
Okay, so Saturday and Recreators, episode 5, which is the titles for these Recreators episodes are so ridiculous. This title is why don't we have ourselves a guys' night out?
Because the girls are having so much fun living together.
Oh yeah. So, this episode goes places. So, the first scene of the episode shows us the light novel author who was freaking out previously at the end of last episode. He's watching the anime that was adapted from his work with a giant mech called the Giga Smasher. When a similar glitch occurs and the military uniform princess appears on screen. And he doesn't recognize her from any storyboards or anything, so he's like, who's this character? Was she added later by like the anime director or something? And when he looks closer, the room around him starts to phase in and out of the world of the anime. And then the Giga Smasher's arm like reaches its gigantic arm through the TV and like pulls itself through into the real world. And so then we get a first-person POV of Rui as he opens the door to his like mech cockpit and tumbles out. And he falls in front of his creator and utters like a shy, apologetic, hello. So the whole game...
Doesn't he like freaks out, like grabs the TV and runs outside, right?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, otherwise the mech would just, destroy the house in the process.
Okay, yeah. The mech spawns like outside the house. That's like important.
Yeah, I just didn't know how he knew to... Once the mech tried to come out, he just knew to take it outside very quickly.
I guess so, yeah. So the whole gang is now at this author's house, and he's recapping what happened. Like, despite Rui Kanoya's bashful personality, he's been written by the author to get defensive very easily, and he gets really pumped up for big action scenes. That's like his personality. So his creator tries to explain that this world is in the past, and he's trying to explain this to him, and Meteora jumps in because like she can explain it better. And she basically says that Rui's world has nothing to do with the timeline of the real world, and that all he needs to know is he's been transported here by the imagination of this world, and like Silesia and her are in the same boat. So at this point, Rui throws like a total Shinji tantrum. And he's like been fighting fierce battles for his entire life, and he doesn't want to continue that in this world. And his creator thought that this aspect of his personality would be interesting, but he also thought that he'd never have to deal with this brat in real life. So he pulls a total Shinji and says, I won't get back in the robot. So he continues the line.
I've never seen Evangelion or whatever, but I know enough to know like that was a straight same thing as Shinji.
Oh yeah, he's got like the same like jumpsuit on, whining just like Shinji about the robot.
So it's like dead on accurate is what you're saying, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay.
So Rui continues to whine, and then he like says like, I've never even been on a date with Yuina, who's like the main heroine of his anime. And Silesia like picks up on this, and she like cunningly like starts to flirt with him, saying like, hey, if you listen to what I say, I'll go on a date with you. And the music cuts out. And like Rui looks up and down at her for a second and says, I like girls who are younger than me. And then he leaves and he slams the door shut.
That was a funny scene.
Like she yells after him like, what the hell? And so everyone sits around the table wondering what to do. And they all look to Meteora. And she decides to make a pun saying, don't ask me. Kanoya has shut himself in. There's no way I can know, yeah? And then she like gives a thumbs up to the camera. She's like super pleased with her terrible pun. And just at that moment, Meteora's pendant glows red, and Silesia jumps up, ready to fight. A heavily armed Japanese self-defense force, special forces unit, starts raiding the house. And Silesia and Meteora start fighting them off, but Meteora says, don't kill him. And then Rui in the next room pulls some breakdancing kicks off and like
yeah, that's what it was.
And he calls for his Gigas Machina. He lifts the entire house up with like the Gigas machine, like rips the roof off. And then the army has like all these bazookas and helicopters shooting at him, but they have like no effect. But then Meteora tells him like, Rui, just stand down, and like says to the Japanese self-defense force, we'll come peacefully. So he does. He stands down. And then this like officer named Major Magaki from the self-defense force says that the cabinet has issued a special disaster discovery order to bring them in for questioning and discussion. And Meteora is like, I'll comply, but only if we aren't separated individually for interrogation. She's like,
I would like to say at this point, I think it makes sense how the government is reacting to it.
Yes. To a certain extent, like it gets explained even more why they moved like they did. So,
like I could see other shows like having the government do completely different things, so it makes sense. But it makes sense that this government is wanting to communicate with them and try to find a solution.
Yeah, so like they meet with this woman named Kikuchi Hara, who is leading the discussion at
Kikuchi Hara. Do you want to see my Kikuchi Hara?
Oh, God,
I'm sorry. Go on, ignore me.
It is a very cute name. She leads this countermeasures committee council, and so all of the creations are there, and they're meeting with her. And she tells him, like, I regret that we had to bring you in by force. Like, we were planning to bring you in, like, very carefully. But when the giant Gygas machine appeared, we were like, okay, we ran out of time now. Because if this thing does any damage or we don't know how to control it, like, we have no more time to move. So they ran out of time. So that's why they took them in. So then apparently they want the creation's cooperation in what they have labeled special disaster case of 105. They basically
so there was another 104 before this, apparently.
Yeah, that's horrifying to think about. So they basically run down like the whole like series of events that they've been studying. Like on August 23rd, there's this big meteorological radio interference and like all these abnormal magnetic fields of unknown origin. And that marked the start of the whole situation. And then authorities began receiving all these tips about UFOs and strange sightings, like the military princess flying through the air. And then on November 18th, a second instance of the radio interference occurred. And they had video of a fight between that old drunken gunslinger who was hanging out with the military princess a couple episodes ago, and who sided with her. And then the Bishonen guy with a wooden sword, Yuya, who defended like our creation heroes recently. And they have reason to believe the creators are being targeted since Alisteria broke into a police station. She's the Lancer character. When her creators were telling the police that he was being threatened. And so they know all about the anime, manga, and video game characters appearing in the world. They actually believe it. So that's one hurdle they don't have to clear, which is nice. They also know of another incident where Meteora stole a bunch of munitions and missiles from the JSDF military base for her fight against the military princess. And Kikuchi Hara like explains to her, by the way, each missile you stole was worth 26 million yen, and you stole 6 of them. Please refrain from doing this in the future. And like Meteora at first is like, I'm very sorry. And then like, but she gets like, as the conversation goes on, she like gets like really ridiculously apologetic because she realizes how bad the thing she did was. She explains her theory about the military princess's plans to the committee, and she believes that the princess is hesitating to act because if she only upsets the world's balance like halfway, she might just be rejected by the world and thrown out of it completely. And so she needs to make a disturbance that will mess the world up all the way. So she asks the committee to create a cover-up to protect the creation's creators. And Meteora asks for like a legal status for them for some reason. And then the council grants them like residential status and makes them like official government employees as well. And Kukuchihara says like, even Sota, you will be protected by this council as well, even though you're not a creation. So she then asks the creations, like, since their worlds have always been fictional, do they still care about protecting their own worlds? And they all agree that they've been trying to save those worlds their entire lives. And so it's like all they know how to do, and they don't mind saving the real world this time either, so they can get back to their worlds.
Right, because they've always been trying to save a world.
Yeah, they're heroes.
It's basically what they're saying.
Yeah, it's who they're meant to be.
It's what they were made for.
Exactly.
Literally.
So privately, Kukuchihara pulls Meteora aside later, and she says, like, what do you think the end game of this is going to be? And Meteora tells her that it's likely up to the human imagination to solve this problem. Hint, hint. So they bond over the promise to like fight it together in the future, Kikuchihara and Meteora. And then the council arranges for like this subway train to take all the creations out, since Rui is like really hungry and so is everybody else. So they get on this like empty subway train, and Marine asks the girls to continue staying with her since it's like a sleepover every night. And Meteora is like, yeah, it's like a girls' night every night. And then like Matsubara and like the guys are looking on and seeing this, and they're like, hey, let's have a guys' night. And then Rui excitedly asks, like, do you have anything to eat? And his creator says like nonchalantly, like, no, my house was destroyed by you. And then Soto meanwhile thinks to himself, how do I know her about this military princess? It's still bothering him.
Well, he's been doing that since the first episode, where he's like, why is she familiar in some strange way?
Exactly.
And finally now he decides to research it. I figured he would have done that a long time ago, but apparently not.
He's on his computer back at home, and a message flashes on the screen like that says, this is my new story. As I said before, this is probably the last one. Goodbye. This is like a vision of his past he's kind of seeing. And he sees visions of a happy girl with glasses and dark hair looking an awful lot.
It only took 4 episodes to bring her back.
Yeah, it's definitely the girl from the very first scene of the first episode who committed suicide. And he remembers her like very like close to him, like taking his glasses off and putting them on her face and smiling and stuff.
Which to me was like a total boyfriend-girlfriend move. Yeah,
or like somebody who has a crush on you, like very close friend at least move. Yeah, but yeah, could be boyfriend-girlfriend for sure. He remembers her name. It was Shimazaki. And he remembers a message saying the words, like, do you want me to draw for it? Don't ask me. Like, I think this is a message that he might have sent to her because he draws. He searches Google and he finds a discussion thread titled Divine Comedy Altair Discussion Thread, the 40th Saber. And he opens it up to find a video titled World Etude. And basically it's indicating that the military princess is from some sort of like internet fan fiction story or anime that Sota likely worked on with Shimazaki, the girl who killed herself. And for some reason, he was blocking all this from his memory until this point, likely because of the trauma of her death, seeing as how like he now likely played some role in the creation of the military princess. He's probably going to be essential in changing her existence or giving them the information they need to take her down. So yeah, this show finally started to move places. Like they're now like working for the government who is like in on this with them. So they have a lot more resources, and Sota is starting to remember his connection to everything. So
yeah, literally 1 episode short of halfway through the show before we finally find the slightest detail about who this military princess is.
Yep.
And I think they did it sounds long, and I'm saying it like it sounds like a long time, but really they've been exploring all these other things, and I think it's totally okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I like this episode, and I'm interested to see where it goes from here. It's definitely kicking into overdrive now, so that's good. Let's head on to the next show, which is My Hero Academia Season 2, Episode 19, The Boy
All
Born
the
with
action!
Everything. Oh, yeah, lots of action in this episode. So
it's basically you... If I'm assuming I haven't read it yet, but you just basically wrote a play-by-play of all the action, right?
Oh, yeah, just sports announcer play-by-play, yeah. So, Todoroki admits to Deku that he was overpowered by something that felt like what could only be All Might's quirk. He's felt All Might's presence before, up close, like in a battle, and so only he recognized it, and he asks Deku if he's All Might's secret love child. So he's on the wrong track, but
right path, but you've wandered off a little bit, bud.
Just so close, Todoroki, so close. Todoroki's dad, Endeavor, has been stuck at the number 2 hero forever, and Todoroki holds even more of a grudge against Deku because of this. And All Might and Endeavor haven't spoken for 10 years, we find out. They talk to each other. And All Might tells Endeavor that Todoroki did wonderfully in the cavalry battle. And All Might says he wants to discuss how to raise the next generation of heroes with Endeavor. But Endeavor tells him, I created Todoroki to be a hero that will defeat you one day. But he's in a rebellious stage right now. So he can't do it yet. So Todoroki tells Deku like all of this, and he says that Endeavor entered into what's called a quirk marriage, choosing a spouse, a wife, based only on strengthening his quirk. So Todoroki is basically genetically engineered to become the greatest hero. And so Todoroki refuses, though, to become his father's tool. He flashes back to his memories, and his mother was always crying, and she told him that his left side, the flame side that he got from his father, was unsightly, and she poured boiling water on him because she was like losing it, and that's why the whole side of his face is red, marked by that boiling water. So he's had a really rough life. And he wants to become the strongest hero without relying on anything that his bastard father gave to him. So, which is why he doesn't want to use his flame quirk at all.
I will say that without giving away spoilers, that reading the manga, they do go deeper into this and actually kind of explain it out. It's actually pretty neat.
Yeah. Oh, good. We might learn more as we go on. We'll see. But yeah, that's good to know.
I don't remember when they talk about it. I don't know if they'll get to it this season, but it does come up eventually.
So Bakugo is standing around the corner. He overhears all of this, which is interesting. But Deku like thinks to himself, like, man, if this were a comic, Todoroki would totally be the main character, not me. Because his backstory is so interesting. And like Deku thinks, like, what can I even say back to Todoroki? Like, Todoroki is walking away at this point. And so after a brief pause, he runs after him and says, like, he's always been supported by others, and that's why he's gotten so far. He knows that, but he tells him, you know, he wants more than anything to be like All Might. And to do that, he has to become the strongest. So he returns the declaration of war that Todoroki made on him. So that was pretty cool. And so now it's time to reveal the last game of the festival. But before that, they announced the students who've been knocked out are still able to participate in recreational events. So at this point, they show a squad of real cheerleaders who they've brought from America, who they brought to liven things up. So all these girls are whites, and they have these really pointy noses, like as if they were elves or something, like ridiculously pointy.
I don't know what that was about.
That was racism, was what that was about.
Do we have pointy noses?
I guess compared to Japanese people, we do. Like typically, you see like we have like bigger noses when we're depicted in anime, but like this was just like what?
But like pointy
is this?
Pointy's interesting.
That was really weird. It's not like that. I mean, it's kind of racist. It's like a kind of like stereotyping like depiction. It's whatever. It's anime. I don't care.
I thought it was funny. I didn't take offense to it. I was just like, because they're trying to make a joke about it, and I'm fine with it. I don't give a crap. Yeah.
And so for some reason, we find out that the girls from Class A are now in cheerleader uniforms too.
For some reason.
And the announcer even says, "What kind of fan service is that?" And we learn this was all
What is
because...
that, breaking the fourth wall?
Oh, yeah. It's called lampshading. No. So we learned this was all because of a secret plan that Mineta thought up at lunch. He told the girls that he heard from Mr. Aizawa that like they had to wear the uniforms for the cheer battle, and Yaoyorozu is tricked by this. And yeah, as Midnight is starting to announce the final tournament format for the last event, Ojiro announces that he's withdrawing. Apparently, he can't remember anything that happened before the end of the cavalry battle because of what Shinso's quirk did to him. Which apparently hurt his pride, and for some reason he doesn't want to continue because he can't remember if he actually deserved to be in this round. So he also asks the girls why the hell they're in cheerleading outfits. Like he's like, I can't remember anything, and also why are you wearing cheerleading outfits? And then another student withdraws, stating that it goes against the spirit of the festival for people who can't even remember doing anything to move on to the final round. And so, yeah, Midnight accepts these two students withdrawing, and this means that two people need to move up from 5th place in the cavalry battle. But the girl who led the 5th place team also felt her team didn't really do anything. So then she nominates like Tetsu's team, since they were actually still fighting to the end. So he and Shiozaki, who's like this green vine-haired girl, move into the final 16. There was like a whole weird series of events to get those two characters into the final 16. It kind of seemed convoluted to me, but anyway. So then the bracket matches people up. Tetsu is against Kirishima, of course, since they're like the exact same dude who has like the hardening power. Tokoyami is against Yaoyorozu. Aoyama, the pretty boy, is against Ashida, the pink raccoon eye girl. And Deku is matched up against the mysterious Shinso. And Todoroki is matched up against the tape guy, Sero. And if Todoroki and Deku win, they'll face each other in the second round. And finally, in one of the funnier matchups, Bakugo is matched up against Ochako. And then finally, Ida against the Gadget Girl, Hatsumi. So yeah, that's the 16. Shinso talks to Deku briefly before Ojiro covers Deku's mouth and warns him not to respond. It seems like Shinso... It's a
clear sign to what his power is.
Yeah. It's like if he hears you speak and maybe like specific words, like he can like override you, it seems like. So there's like an interlude where the rest of the class is doing like recreational events and a scavenger hunt and some other track stuff, and the girls are cheerleading, blah blah blah, while the finalists are getting ready. Cement Toss, a cement hero, fills a huge swimming pool basically in the middle of the stadium with wet cement. And then All Might finds Deku before the start and asks him if he's figured out how to use One for All, his power, his quirk. And he still hasn't. And All Might says Deku probably can only release like 5% of his true power at this point anyway. So,
which is insane for what he's done so far.
Yeah, that's kind of insane.
Because if that's only 5%, whoa, what is 100%?
Yeah, it's pretty scary to think about. So yeah, the first match is going to be Deku versus Shinso, and the rules of the match are you can force your opponent out of the bounds or immobilize them or force them to say they give up. Basically, that's how you win. So injuries are fine, they say, because there's like a medic standing by, but nothing life-threatening is allowed. So you can't like try to kill somebody. So like just as the match starts, like Shinso tries to get in Deku's head, and Deku yells at him, and as soon as he speaks, he stops in his tracks, and Shinso says, "I've won." And so like we see Deku's eyes looking blank, like he's forgotten everything, and that's where the episode ends. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I mean, it's setting it up to show that like he just said, Shinso says, "I've won." Like Deku has no chance at this point, but yeah, knowing any anime, something else is going to happen, but we'll see where that goes from there.
I wonder how many episodes that this 16 character tournament arc is going to go on, because I could see it going on for a while here. We'll see.
It's been so long since I've read this in the manga.
I would expect it to be at least like I don't know, 4 episodes, if not like 6.
I feel like the manga I could be completely wrong, but I feel like the manga may have skipped a couple of the matches and just announced the winner.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so they could be a little bit shorter.
Like there were, or even like there were multiple matches going on at once, and then they just did quick highlights of a match or two, and then they like would just do like 4 of the matches at once in a chapter real quick.
Yeah.
But the manga is also, this is one of the really long mangas. It has lots of pages to it.
Okay.
But okay, let's talk about this Attack on Titan season 2. And yes, we do episodic reviews, so we are super spoiler heavy, but this episode was so intense that we really recommend, if you're not watching the series but you plan on to just skip this synopsis.
Yeah, this
and go watch it for yourself.
Has like earth-shattering spoilers that have ramifications for like literally the entire show up to this point. So if you have any intention of ever watching Attack on Titan, do not listen to this review until you go watch the show. Yeah. Because I don't want to spoil this for anybody, because I was not spoiled and my mind was blown by this. So.
I read the manga and I was still really blown away, because I kind of remember this happening, but it was still just the intensity of this whole thing.
Okay.
But anyways, there's your guys' warnings. I'm going to start through the synopsis now. So here's your chance to run away and pause this.
So this episode is episode 31, Warrior, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So we start off with a recap of the recent events at the tower. It turns out Ymir isn't dead. I thought she had died, but she'd merely fallen into a coma.
I like her character, so I'm really glad she's not dead.
Yeah. So we have Krista trying to present her case for Ymir being, somebody on their side or whatnot, and she's talking to Commander Zoe Heng that Ymir would be a good ally and that she might have knowledge that could potentially help them, because obviously if she knew she was a Titan, she has to know some other things. She's coming from a different group of people or whatnot. But then we also get Krista's full name, which is Historia Reyes. Reyes is one of the noble families, so that makes her royalty. And but Ymir seems to be healing at a very slow pace. She had taken so much damage that her Titan abilities don't allow her to heal too quickly, unlike Aaron's, who can heal extremely quickly. That seems to be like his unique Titan power. Is that what do you get that sense also?
Yeah, I think it makes sense for how he could like heal the walls and stuff too at such like a high speed. Yeah, he
can take huge amount of damage. Like when he first turned into a Titan, didn't he like get his arms and arm or leg chopped off inside a Titan, and he immediately evolved them back?
Yeah.
But they also announced that Ymir would also be dead if she wasn't already part Titan. That's like how severe her damages are. Reiner is kind of torn up about having a second close call with a Titan. He claims he will be dead before he even knows it, but he decides that he kind of just wants to quit and go back to his own hometown. Hans, his best buddy, shows up and confirms there are no, not his best buddy Hans, but Hans, one of the other scout leaders, shows up and confirms that there are no holes in the wall. So how did these Titans get in here? They still don't have any idea. So they decide to fall back to the Tross district. Everybody's just so super scared and perplexed by this. They don't know why there are Titans here. There's no holes. Where did they come from? I'm assuming, that what was it? Ronnie? What's his name?
Which character you're talking about?
His hometown.
Connie. Yeah.
Connie.
Yeah, I'm thinking that
Connie.
like the Titans came from his hometown. Like
somebody somehow turned his hometown into Titans, or they were already Titans somehow, or something like that. Okay, at this point, this is where shit starts to get fucking crazy. Reiner pulls Eren aside and flat out tells him he is the armored Titan and Bernhold is a colossal titan, flat out, like almost nonchalantly. It then goes on to say that their primary goal was to ensure all of humanity was wiped out, but now there's no need for that if Eren goes back with them. He says they won't have to destroy any more walls. He goes on to say, I know it's sudden, but they need to leave now. If Eren goes with them, they can avoid this whole crisis. That's what Reiner says. Mikasa seems to be close enough to have heard all of this also. And I would also like to point out that wasn't their initial attack the attack that killed his mother, right?
Oh, yeah. Like, he's definitely got that in the back of his mind, too.
Yeah, so I figured he should be super pissed. So, right from there, to explain my questions, they jump back 12 hours earlier when they're back at Ermich District, where Zoe has gotten the background report on Annie. And it seems there were 2 other people from the 104th Cadet Corps who came from the same area as her. Turns out those 2 people are Reiner and Bernhold. Because of an incident 5 years ago, most of the information about them was lost, coincidentally. And it also seems at some point, Reiner passed on information to Annie. There was the whole scene where the whole scout forces were going into the woods, and Annie attacked attacked Reiner. And what is his name? You got me, Bcom?
I'm not sure who you're talking about.
I'm talking about, it's not Aaron's, or Hermine or something like that.
I don't know. I'm not
Anyways,
sure.
Okay, I'll just read that. So during this is from season 1. There was a group of people that were told wrong about Aaron's formation, where he was wrong. So when Annie attacked, she attacked from the wrong side. Zoe asked during the training if they ever saw the 3 people talking about Annie, Reiner, and Bernhold. They say no, because Annie was mostly a loner, and they're always hung out together because they came from, and the other 2 hang out together because they came from the same place. Eren finds it very hard to believe that Reiner was would be a bad guy in his mind, because he was such a big brother to him and everybody else. And it's Armin who I'm talking about.
That's what you're talking about. Sorry.
Yes, recalls he gave everything when they fought Annie in Titan form, but something was strange when it happened, because at one point Annie grabbed Reiner when she was in her Titan form, and he would manage to spin out of her control. But when he did, she looked at her hand. And they're assuming he wrote a message in her hand in blades. And then also, there's a scene of them running away as he's running with Armin in his arms. And the steam's coming off him. And you're led to believe that it's probably just her blood. But it was actually him healing.
Healing, yeah.
Yes. Zoe then goes and says that when they meet up with them, not to act suspicious anyway, and enacts a plan to eventually find some way to lead them underground and confine them, because if they transform underground, then they're just basically SOL. We immediately go back to them having their conversation on top of the wall. Eren says he must be tired and is just spouting nonsense. And did he think he would actually say, sure, let's go, after you just say something like that? Reiner agrees and says, maybe I have gone crazy. We get everybody showing itchy trigger fingers on a lot of their little, they're not even pistols, but they're just blades or whatever. And then we get to this point where I basically just have to write out what Reiner says and does. So here we go. He goes, I see. That's it. I've been here too long for my own good. It's been 3 long years surrounded by nothing but idiots. We were just kids. We didn't know anything. If only I ever knew that there were people like this, I wouldn't have become such a half-assed piece of shit. At this point, he starts taking off his sling and revealing his arm that is steaming and healing to everybody. He then goes on to say, it's too late now. I don't know what's right anymore, but the only choice for me now is to face the consequences of my actions. And as a warrior, fulfill my duty to the bitter end. Reiner says we finish this right here, right now. That's when Mikasa attacks both of them. She doesn't get the crucial cuts in. They both start to transform. Bernholt, during this whole thing, is looking like super scared. Just, he's so afraid of where this is going. Their transformations cause like this ridiculous amount of wind. It's fleeing everybody and debris and stuff just everywhere. The Colossal Titan is like half transformed. He reaches out and grabs Ymir. And then at the same time, the Armor Titan has a hold of Eren and jumps down off the wall. And then Eren has this brief flashback of like him being so, the older brother type to everybody, being so nice and stuff like that. But then he like screams, "Traitors!" and then just transforms into the Armored Titan. And that's the end of the episode. It is super crazy.
So yeah, I was watching this episode with a friend and we were chatting over Discord. And I think something happened to me that probably happened to people who maybe were reading the manga or watching this show, where when Reiner says to Eren, "Oh, by the way, I'm the Armor Titan and Berthold's the Colossal Titan," I missed the subtitle. Like, I didn't even see it because it goes
so nonchalant how he says it.
Ridiculously nonchalant and underplayed that I totally missed it. And my friend was like, "Wait, what just happened?" And I was like, "Wait, what are you talking about?" And he's like, "Oh, Reiner just admitted he's the Armored Titan." And I was like, "Wait, what? Are you joking? Come on, that didn't happen."
There's no like epic music. There's no animation that leads up to it. It's just everybody's starting to walk off to the other place, and then he's just like, "Hey, Eren, I'm the Armored Titan," and the other guy's the Colossal Titan. This is literally how he says it.
This is also like, so as I went back thinking about this episode, this is where I actually was happy that it's been 3 years since I last watched Attack on Titan, because I remembered now at the end of season 1, I definitely suspected Bertholdt of being a Titan, and I think Reiner of being the Armored Titan. So
and you totally kind of forgotten until now?
I completely forgot all of that, so I got to experience this without any of that. So it was just completely shocking to me. But yeah, when like...
I have a similar story about that, because when I read the manga, that it was the same way. I had forgotten until they came to this. And then again with the... and I knew... But even then, when they animated it, I was still really blown away by it, because I was like, it's just how intense it was. And it just makes you rethink about the tower scenes. How like when he got attacked by that Titan and it bit into his arm, he at any point could have transformed. Both of them could have transformed and saved themselves. So why were they acting so scared?
Yeah. It's interesting. Like there's so much. This whole thing raises so many more questions. Like I have so many questions now. Like,
yes, I see your 2 pages of questions.
I have literally 5 paragraphs of questions. So I'll start. Let's take this step by step. So at first I was confused about what Reiner first said to Eren when he revealed his identity. What has happened at this point that makes him feel like if Eren comes with him, they don't have to destroy humanity anymore? Is it because they won't have to break any more walls? Is it because Eren has the capability to seal walls? Is it?
Well, he says they don't have to end humanity at this point. Yeah, we don't know why Eren's important. They literally just don't say.
It's weird. Yeah, I think I want to know more about what the reasoning is behind that. What exactly is Reiner's goal? He says, we set out to destroy humanity, but why were they destroying humanity? Also,
not to mention how many factions of these Titans/humans there are, because we have the Gorilla Titan. Mm-hmm. Is he even part of?
I don't think so. I think he's a different faction.
Because we know Ymir and Bernard are apparently from 2 different factions.
Yeah. Yeah,
and also you have that flashback scene of Ymir eating Bernard's
Reiner's, or Bertholdt's or whatever he is.
Yeah. Whatever.
Their friend, yeah.
Yeah. So were they not Titans then, and then later they were able to be turned into Titans, which we're led to believe with Coney's village. but they didn't have wills of their own, but they still have wills of their own if they're turned into it. But I don't know. It's just too many weird questions.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, yeah, I don't understand fully their motivation at the moment, but like, it's like, what spurred them to talk to Eren now of all times? And if you think about it, Reiner and Bertolt have like this insane amount of power. So like, why did they join the Scouting Legion and lay back for 3 years? Like, why would they infiltrate the Scouting Legion when they could just like take down the walls?
Yeah, they could easily transform another time and just take down the walls constantly until they took out everybody.
So then at that point, I could only assume it's because their mission was to find out some kind of information or find some specific person. Maybe they were setting out to try and find Eren.
Or Eren's transformation caused their initial mission to change.
Yeah.
That's what I'm assuming.
And like, as they transform, they're trying to take Eren and Ymir with them. Like they grab both of them. So yeah, maybe they were sent to find a Titan who specifically had the ability to repair walls. I don't know. Maybe Eren's dad is the one who sent them.
I feel like Eren's dad is like the mastermind behind everything.
I think so.
I'm just gonna say
too.
that.
It's probably like Full Metal Alchemist in that way.
Oh God.
But yeah, to call this like a low-key reveal is such an understatement. Like, it was so underplayed. God, like, it's just like, I think like the author was trying to make a statement with this. Like, in war, you don't always get like massive reveals. Sometimes it's just like a simple line that fades away into the background that changes everything about the show. So like, yeah, it's crazy. And then like, yeah, what was I going to say? Yeah, I suspected them. If you go back now to season 1, and people on Reddit and around the internet are posting all of these screenshots, like there are so many scenes with Reiner and Bertolt and Annie and Eren that have a completely different meaning now. Like if you go watch season 1 again, you get so much more out of it. There is so much foreshadowing. So much. I want to say
you can see many groups of people together. So it's just one of those things where hindsight's 20/20. So now when you go back and look, you're like, oh, they were together. Yeah, but then you can also pick up other scenes where you can see Annie with like maybe 2 other people, probably.
But there's shots where like, the directors knew, and like they mentioned like something about a Titans and they showed Reiner's face like looking on, or they mentioned stuff about like the Armored Titan or the Colossal Titan.
Well, they even showed Ymir in a recent episode.
Yeah.
Having that same face. So that's not new.
There was also like in the previous episode when Krista is like yelling at Ymir to tear down the tower, there's a brief shot of Bertolt holding his hand up to his mouth because he's getting ready to bite it in case he needs to transform. And that,
is that what he was doing?
Yeah. I mean, it's so like little tiny things like that are thrown in. It's like really cool if you go back and like people have posted like big Imgur albums with like all of the connections and stuff. It's really fantastic. And yeah, so at this point, I feel like Krista is going to be a key, because I think she might be the key to like bringing Reiner back to the good side, because
she's waifu material, man.
He wants to marry her. So, and like, yeah, he's half-assed his job as a Titan because he met all these incredible people and he can't bring himself to just kill them. And Bertolt has been complaining about him in these recent episodes about how Reiner used to be more of a warrior. I think it's clear that Bertolt feels that Reiner has lost his edge and has gotten too close to the Scouting Legion and humanity. But Bertolt
like
also
seems, there's all these points where like at the time they didn't make much sense, but now that we know what the end result is, they make perfect sense of where they were going.
Yeah, but God, I have so many questions now. Like, oh man, I can't wait to watch the next episode.
I will just let you know. It doesn't get any better with how many questions you have. It just gets worse.
Fantastic.
So if you wanted answers, you're going to get buried in more questions. So don't get your hopes up, man. Unless the anime takes it in a completely different direction, which so far I don't think they have at all. So don't expect it.
So yeah, what a fantastic episode, though. I mean, That's really like a game-changing episode. There's some pretty beautiful animation too. Like there's lots of like shots of like people's reflections in pools of water that looked really fantastic. I thought the whole transformation sequence and like Reiner's speech, all of that was great. Like it was just a great moment.
Yeah, and like Bernholdt's like half-formed colossal titan is really cool looking.
Yeah, when you see their faces like transforming into the titans, it's fantastic. Yeah.
And it's obviously, oh, that is clearly them.
I'm so glad that I had forgotten about my suspicions about them before this season. It made it that much better.
Oh, that's great. That's great to hear. I'm still surprised you didn't see all the sexual innuendos in Rage of Bahamut. Until I sent them to you, and then you're like, oh God, they're totally there. I'm like, yeah.
Look, I don't have my mind in the gutter like you, Leo.
The show forces your mind in the gutter. Oh, man. You have anything else you'd like to add before we end this?
Just that bear waifu is best girl. That's basically it.
All right, you guys heard it here first. Buso Shoujo Machivellianism. Bcom loves bear waifu.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, thanks for listening. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe to us on YouTube to get updates on new podcasts or videos, and follow us on Twitter at Nerdom and other for updates as well. See you guys later.
Gow.